Most people think they're afraid of failure, but what if the truth is even more uncomfortable? What if the thing that's actually keeping you stuck is the fear of success? I know it sounds ridiculous, right? Like, who would be afraid of getting rich, falling in love, or finally living the life they want? But that's exactly what's happening, silently, unconsciously, behind the scenes. And if you don't uncover this, you'll keep sabotaging your biggest dreams and calling it bad luck or not the right time. So in this video, I'm going to break down why success feels threatening to your unconscious mind, why you keep stopping yourself when you're only this close, and how to finally shift into the version of you who can actually receive what you want without burning out, hiding, or collapsing when it arrives. Let's dive in. Here's something that might blow your mind. Your unconscious doesn't actually fear failure. It fears what success would do to your identity. Think of it like this. We all have a personal operating system, a mental and emotional framework that runs the show in the background. And no matter how outdated or limiting it is, it always feels safer to keep running the same OS than to risk an upgrade. You might consciously say you want a six-figure business, an amazing relationship, or next level health. But if your identity is still wired to be the struggler, the underdog, or the one who's always almost there but never quite, then actually arriving threatens everything your unconscious believes about who you are. Because here's the truth. Success doesn't just require effort. It requires the death of who you used to be. And most people, unconsciously, obviously, resist that death. Because becoming successful, truly successful, means you no longer get to rely on your old excuses. You don't get to say, I'm still working on it. You don't get to hide behind hustle or growth or someday. You have to actually own it, live it, be someone who has it. And that terrifies people. And that's why typically the closer you get to a breakthrough, the more resistance shows up. You procrastinate. You suddenly get sick or tired or distracted. You sabotage the opportunity without realizing it. Or you convince yourself, oh, maybe I don't want this anymore. Maybe this isn't aligned with me, when it totally is. But let's call it what it is, because that's not intuition or the universe protecting you. That's your unconscious slamming the brakes, because success would mean stepping out of your identity's comfort zone. Even if that identity is filled with struggle, scarcity, or failure, it's still yours. It's still familiar. And to your unconscious, familiar equals safe. This is why people repeat patterns they say they want to break. It's not that they are lazy or undisciplined. They are structured to recreate the identity they've been living in for years. And here's the wild part. Your unconscious would rather you stay miserable but familiar than happy but unfamiliar. Because it's not wired for growth, it's wired for survival. That's why someone who's used to being overlooked will sabotage attention. Or someone who's used to scraping by will reject abundance. And someone who's used to chaos will destroy peace the moment it starts feeling real. Not because they don't want to be successful. Consciously, of course they do. But because success violates their internal structure, what they believe they are allowed to experience. See, you don't get what you want. You get what you're structured for. And structure has integrity, so it always wins. It always follows the path of least resistance. So unless you change the structure, unless you change what your identity permits you to have, you'll keep bumping up against the same glass ceiling over and over, no matter how hard you work or how much potential you have. That's why this work isn't about working harder. It's about letting go of the invisible limitations you've been living under. Because as long as you keep holding on to the old identity, you keep walking into situations designed to reinforce it. Let's take it a level deeper. Most people are completely comfortable wanting success. They love the chase, the vision board, the high they're getting from figuring it all out. They stay addicted to the journey because it gives them a sense of purpose without ever having to risk receiving. But actually having success, well, that's a whole different ballgame. Because having success forces you to do something most people have no idea how to do. Receive. And receiving is vulnerable. It's exposing. It brings everything to the surface, especially the parts of you that still believe you're not worthy of it. If you've been unconsciously trained to think success needs to be earned through struggle, or that you have to become someone better before you're allowed to have it, then success doesn't feel like a reward. It feels like a setup. Again, not consciously, but to your unconscious. Receiving triggers every unresolved fear and belief you've ever buried. What if I can't maintain it? What if people change how they treat me? What if I lose it and that proves I never deserved it in the first place? What if success turns me into someone I don't recognize? Again, your unconscious would rather you stay broke and safe than rich and exposed. And if you don't clear that fear, here's what happens. You'll keep chasing. You'll keep doing the work. You'll get close, but never quite land it. Because part of you is still wired to believe that having it will somehow hurt you. So you move forwards and then pull back. You win and then sabotage. You rise up and then crash back down. Not because you're broken, but because your identity hasn't caught up to your goals. So here's the $1,000,000 question. Are you really afraid of failure? Or are you afraid of what it would mean to finally have what you asked for? Because once success becomes your new normal, you don't get to say someday. You don't get to keep preparing. You don't get to hide behind the struggle anymore. You actually have to be the person who has it. And that's the part no one teaches you how to feel safe in. See, as long as success is in the future, you don't have to be responsible for it. You can fantasize, dream, visualize, and most people prefer that because it feels safe. But what happens when it shows up? What happens when the opportunity is right in front of you and you realize, oh shit, if I take this, my whole life changes? That's terrifying because once success is real, you can no longer pretend. You can no longer hide behind the story of being the one who's working on it. You actually have to own it. And this is why in my program we use a secret exercise to help clients do two things. One, become completely okay with failure, not just intellectually but emotionally, so that failure doesn't scare them anymore. And two, de-romanticize success so they stop putting it on a pedestal. Because when you're not running from failure or chasing success like it's some magical trophy, you become neutral to it. And from that place you can finally receive. Because success stops feeling like it's this huge dramatic transformation. It just becomes the natural next step for who you already are. The people who succeed with ease aren't different. They just stop thinking success made them more worthy. Because if you think success is a big deal, you're also saying that you're not worthy of it. And if you believe that, you will never let yourself reach it. You'll keep preparing, keep waiting, keep pushing it away until you realize you don't have to become someone else to succeed. You just have to stop believing that you need to. So how do you actually overcome the fear of success? How do you shift into the version of you who can finally receive it, hold it, and expand it without sabotaging it the moment it gets real? Here's the simple but not so easy answer. You have to let go of the identity that doesn't allow success. The version of you who needed struggle to feel worthy, who used chaos as proof that they were doing something important, who found comfort in always wanting but never quite having. Because even if your goals change, if the identity underneath stays the same, nothing really moves. So this isn't about chasing success harder. It's about creating the internal conditions where success no longer feels like a threat. You become someone who sees receiving as normal, knows success is safe, and understands they were always enough, even before the results. This is exactly what we help you do inside my free Superconscious Awakening community. And no, this isn't another surface level motivation group where people talk big, but they stay stuck. See, we actually go deep. We help you recode all the unconscious resistance that's been quietly running your life. You will learn how to choose a true end result that pulls you forward with clarity, how to step into the identity of the version of you who already lives that life, and how to remove the invisible resistance that's kept you circling the same outcomes for years. Once you see how this really works, you can't unsee it. So if you've been stuck in the almost there loop, if part of you has secretly feared what it would mean to actually win, now is the time to shift it. Click the link, join the free course, and I'll guide you through the process step by step. Stop waiting for success to feel safe. Start becoming the version of you who already has it. I'll see you inside.